And we are so excited to talk to today's mom brain guest. She's a superstar. She has been in more movies than we can count since she started at the age of 11. And you've probably seen her in major blockbuster movies like Star Wars and Thor and V for Vendetta and Black Swan, just to name a few.
Wait, let me give you some more clues. She's an actress. She's a Harvard graduate. She's a filmmaker, an author, and a mother to 2 beautiful children. We are talking to Natalie Portman, and we are going to talk to her about her many accomplishments, but also her new children's book, which is a take on the classic fairy tales, but done in a very different way, a completely different twist. And we're very excited to get into it with her. Hi. So you're in Australia?
I am.
That sounds like a nice place to be spending this crazy time.
It's very lucky, to be here working right now.
How long are you posted up there for?
A few months. My
okay.
husband is working first and then I'm working after. So we were lucky to be able to organize it that way, that we can have some continuity for the kids.
Totally. Well, also it's a 20 some odd hour flight, like to not have to make it back and forth so many times. Your kids are little, I feel too. Are they like 4 or 5?
I have a 3.5-year-old and a 9-year-old. So kind of a big split. How about yours?
Wow. Oh my gosh. So between the 2 of us, we have 9 children right now.
Oh my God.
We won't bore you with all their ages, but between 7 and newborn. So they're all little. They're
really little.
A lot of them.
It's a competition between the 2 of us. So now
You
that I had
that
another one,
you're winning.
now it's your turn. Exactly right.
I love that. Oh, it's a competition. But
It's a
I have to
competition
say,
and I win.
You also just
also sleepless.
I know
How much winning there's going on now.
But just as a testament, as you can see, Hilaria literally popped this 5th beautiful baby boy out in 4 weeks ago, and she's back here doing her thing. So she definitely
congratulations.
Thanks.
Super
Thank
impressive.
You. So I read your book today.
Oh, thanks.
So talk to me. It's like you mixed a bunch of different stories all together, and then they have their own twist. Talk to us a little bit about the process and what you wanted to convey. It was very creative.
Thank you. Yeah, the sort of beginning of my thinking about it happened when I had a girl after having a boy. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but we got all of these like feminist baby books as presents. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking like, it's really important for the boys to learn this stuff, not just the girls. It's great for the girls to learn it, but we know we're great. Girls know we're great. We don't need the books. We need the books for the boys, right? But then I realized that the kind of like normal books that you get for both kids or that you read to both kids, the characters were predominantly male. And so you're reading these classic stories that I want to read my kids, but then, all the pigs in the 3 Little Pigs are male and the wolf is male. And, and I was like, what does this teach my kids when they're teaching to empathize, when they're learning to like care for someone else's story and care for someone else's heart, if all the characters are male, for both females and males? And like, I think we tend to learn getting into a male brain, wanting to know what they think and feel and want more than female brains. And so I thought, what if you just took the regular stories, but made it look like the world, where half the characters are male, half the characters are female, some are sort of on the spectrum of gender, and just let the stories play out like that and not have any like strong message about that's separate from just our general messages of what we want to teach our kids about being good human beings and how to be in the world, but just populate it in a way that looks like the world. So I just wanted to use the kind of classic stories and then just simply have the animal kingdom reflect the real animal kingdom in terms of gender.
I love that, because I think that it's so often, I have 4 boys and 1 girl. And so it's interesting, I had my girl first, And so I was a girl mom. And then all of a sudden I was a boy mom, like many times over. And I was like, what am I going to do with all these boys? Yeah. And what you do, you raise them and you love them. And when they're young, they're so innocent, and they don't know this world that we have very, I'm trying to, I'm with my horrible like mom brain trying to say this, but like just in terms of how, with the Me Too and how we've all come together and things seem to be going in a direction where we're speaking about things that we never spoke about before. And things are coming to light that people knew were going on, but didn't want to talk about it. Some people had no idea were going on. I mean, right. It's a very, very big topic. And there's something as I'm raising my boys and as I'm raising my daughter, I start to think, how do you teach them this? And some of it is going to be through very strong conversations. And some of it is going to be exactly what it seems like your book is doing, which is, let's just show you what is. And we can plant these seeds in a very natural way from a very young age, because for kids, it's just what is. Their life is what is. They don't know this Me Too thing. They don't know all this stuff.
And they're too little for, I mean, even some of the things about like how empowered girls are, like these amazing women through history, like even that feels like, I don't want to introduce to my kid, like my daughter at 3 years old, that she's going to have all these obstacles in her life either, like, for me, I just want to start with like, let's care about girls and boys. Let's feel feelings for people of all genders. Let's care about their stories from the beginning, like that seems like the first building block to me, and was really disappointing and worrisome when I saw in so many books that they were so male centric, and so many kids movies and shows. I mean, Gina Davis has this like amazing institution that tracks all of it. And when you see the number of like male to female speaking roles, even in kids movies, it's like insanely disproportionate. So, and I think a lot of it for teaching boys is just to empathize with girls, to wonder how they feel, to wonder what they're thinking. And that comes from storytelling.
Well, I think also, as all of us I have one boy and 3 girls. Hilaria has 1 girl and 4 boys. You have a boy and a girl. You never want to parent one at the expense of the other, right? Obviously different children have different needs. Different children have different needs at different times, but it is really, it's challenging to be able to find a book that you can read to all of them at once that doesn't feel pejorative or negative towards one versus the other.
Yes.
And I think that's what's really cool about what your approach to it is. It's much more about the lesson of just living life and embracing the colorfulness of life, as opposed to a really hard hammering on the nose, like a message of empowerment that ultimately is empowering at the expense of something else, And I think I also think Fables, I don't know if you as a kid grew up reading Fables, but I loved them. I thought they were really, because they were a little bit dark sometimes and like different than the average kid stories. So I'm so curious how you picked the ones you wanted to retell and what the response was like from, what did you keep it to yourself? Were you kind of talking about it to friends? Like, what was that sort of process like?
Yeah, I really wanted to do stories with animals because I think in terms of creating empathy for me as a kid, like I always believed that animals had feelings and thoughts and emotions because of the books I read and because of the movies and cartoons I saw. And that was such a big, important thing for me. And also I felt like all kids have the same access point. Like no matter what your background is, we all have the same ability to imagine that we're like that pig character or that, bunny or whatever, like it's not specific to the way, a human character looks or something where you're like, oh, I'm the red hair girl or whatever. And so that's why I wanted to do animal stories. And then the reason I chose these were because they were classics that I wanted to read my kids. And then I didn't feel that they were like okay to read my kids when they were all male characters. So I wanted to make kind of gender safe books that like I can keep these classic stories, but that I'm not going to be instilling like only male points of view. That like, sometimes the wolf is going to be a female. Sometimes sometimes the tortoise or whatever, but I found myself like going to the park and always referring to like, look at the squirrel. Isn't he cute? And I was like, why do I always think every animal is male? Like I was doing it. And you realize how much you kind of just absorb from these kinds of stories.
Well, we talk a lot about, I think not just with our girlfriends, but also on the show about what is age appropriate for them. And and there's so much that what you're saying is making me think about things in a completely different way of how, maybe it's okay when they're younger not to know why we have to be empowered. We get these empower books, but why does our 3-year-old need to know that we shouldn't be empowered when she can just be like, well, I'm just empowered because I'm a person, you know? And that's so interesting that you're saying this. I never really thought about that much. I was much more about the rah. And it's interesting because I start to get, especially over the past year or two, as these topics get talked about more, like the issue of consent, and listening, and I'll take it with my kids when they start to, fight about something and somebody is saying stop, and it's, stop, don't spray me with water in the pool, or don't pull my hair or something like that. And I really, really, really am trying to drive home this idea of, no, you need to listen. When somebody says no, even if they were having fun and playing a second ago, when somebody says no, that's when you drop it immediately. Yes. And you have to get really good. We play Simon Says to try to have them learn, the go, the stop, the go, the stop, the go, the stop, and listening. And I guess but it is interesting, this idea of, are we overloading them with things because we're fearful of not preparing them for the future as well?
Well, to me, it's so much about having them imagine other people's feelings. Like that's how you get empathy, is imagining, if I say this thing to you, or if I do this thing to you, how are you going to feel? And the first beginning of that is stories, because they're imagining how the characters in the books feel that you're reading them. They're imagining that, how the rooster feels when she does all her work, or the hen feels when she does all her work baking the bread, and, nobody helps her. And then they want to have, a piece of the bread. They're feeling the characters' feelings, and what happens when boys and girls are taught to imagine male feelings all the time. And I know, I think as a girl, I became like an expert in knowing how boys and men felt. I was like, I know, do they think I'm pretty? Do they think I'm cool? Do they think I'm smart? Do they think I'm annoying? Do they think I'm, I was constantly doing that. And I think it's because I had practiced so much wondering about male, I had practiced so much getting into the male mind through the stories and TV and movies I'd seen, because it's such predominantly male characters. And men do that too. I think boys are also trained, so they don't have enough practice at thinking, what do girls feel? Does she feel comfortable? Does she feel safe? Does she feel cool with this? And so I think starting the practice in a very early age of imagining everybody's minds in the same proportion just gives you a practice that goes into the world, and you just care about how other people feel. It's like a building block for empathy that doesn't have any huge message that they're not ready for, but is literally just go into the world and care about how someone else feels and how someone is affected by your behavior or your speech or whatever you say or do.
Well, it takes more work to do that, right? You have to be able to manage your own emotions, your own feelings, your own approach, your own, experience, and then also have the bandwidth and the desire to put yourself out of your body and think about the people on the other side. And I think that that's, for better or for worse, it's something that I think our culture has always sort of believed girls could do, sometimes to their detriment, and not really imagine that boys were doing that, or needed to do the same or could do the same. And I think in a funny way, it's damaging for both. And I think I love that this approach is so, it's very expanding. It's not constricting. It's not trying to like funnel you into one path. It's really saying your experience of life will be so much richer if you have this dynamic and ability to see this side and to have that empathy that you're talking about. And I think it's hard. I never thought of empathy as something you could cultivate. I kind of think of it as like this non-cognitive skill that you're born with or you're not born with. But I think you're right. I think you have to see it modeled. And I think this is such a great, it makes sense given, your lifetime in storytelling, that you would understand that stories have this capacity to really teach us important life skills like that. I also think it's interesting. I mean, your kids are, little, 9 and almost 4. And how do you, you've been working since you were so little. I feel like the professional you were like,
I was 11.
11. Oh my gosh. You're a kid. And I'm so curious. I wonder how that experience shaped your confidence, that experience shaped your willingness to talk about and be vocal about things you really care about and you're passionate about. And I wonder how you're sharing those life skills and that passion and that ability to speak up for yourself with your kids and get behind issues like this that you clearly really care about.
Well, it was very, very lucky to start working professionally early. For me, it was something that I really wanted to do. My parents were super protective, like always by my side. And so I really had an incredible experience where I got to like play and travel and meet interesting people and be exposed to a lot of ideas and cultures that I think I never would have had the opportunity to. But it was definitely unusual as a kid. I definitely got like bullied at school afterwards for like, people were, because I went to just, regular schools, and some of the kids were, like when I came back from shooting movies and stuff, they would say I was like stuck up and, give me a hard time. And that was all really important also for, I think, developing empathy, because it takes being hurt pretty badly, I think, to understand, even get an inkling into what anyone else's hurt might be like too. Mm-hmm. So it was, and then also I wasn't like, later in high school and stuff, I was never like partying or going out. I was like, working on all my breaks and, going to shoot or do a play or something whenever I had time off. So it kind of, I guess, like helped nerdify me. But the storytelling aspect has been really, important for giving like what I do meaning, because it's so fun. I love my job, but it really does feel like that's where I can find the purpose of what I do when I, that's when people go into a movie theater and care about another person, cry for their plight, or laugh with their joy and feel with another human. It is a practice. And then you go into the world, like us reading a book about someone and then getting connected to their journey and feeling like they're someone we care about. All of that is storytelling really, really cultivates that. So that's been really an incredible piece of my work, to have the like purpose alongside the just kind of like fun and pure joy of getting to create.
Of course. Oh, wait, because you bring up like you worked your whole, during the time when most people are working at their kinks and being crazy and awkward and dangerous and bad and all the good things. Like you were busy and working and professional and had other considerations at play. Like, and then you had kids kind of young. Did you ever feel like did you ever get your moment of
my wild
childhood?
Yeah. Yeah, in many ways, I definitely feel like delayed with a lot of it. Like I feel like I'm going to be like the 50-year-old rebellion. You know, that's what we all have to look forward to. I think it's like Gloria Steinem who said like women are the ones who become radical in their old age.
So good.
Yeah, it's so true. But yeah, I mean, I guess I was lucky that there wasn't like social media when I was a teenager and young adult and stuff, so that I feel like I did have like enough of the fun without like going off the rails, but you know, that's also not caught on tape. And but yeah, it also did keep me relatively like, I guess like straightforward with like my my behavior, because there was this kind of public aspect to it.
I think I think when kids have some sort of focus, it keeps them on the rails, on the rails somewhat. But
Totally.
although, you know what, you still have time. Still have time to have your wild moments.
Thank you. Yeah.
You bring up social media, and it's something that I think a lot about as my daughter is 7, and she starts to, is asking about these things, like she wants a phone, and I'm like, no. She wants to text her friends. I say, you may use my phone and I will see everything that you write. Not that they can, say that much at this point, but it is interesting raising this generation really like completely up to here in social media. And it's something I worry a lot about. At this point, I've used social media in a way to, now we're out in the Hamptons, but during COVID, but we normally live in New York. And it was just this horrible thing where there'd be paparazzi outside of my house all the time. And I learned from some people in the same situation that if you use social media, because I used to be very protective of my kids' photos, if I just put it out there, it's not worth anything anymore. And so I started doing that. And it was amazing. Like they all dropped like flies. It's amazing. Wow. But then it starts to wonder what you're modeling for your children. I think about that a lot. What am I modeling for my children? What am I, that their image out there, are they going to think that this is what they should be doing? Does this mean that they're popular? It's interesting. I really struggle a lot with what it's going to be like trying to navigate those waters as the kids get a little bit older, and restrictions on social media, and also what eventually they tell you that they're just going to do whatever they want, right?
Yeah. No, it's really tricky. Have you seen The Social Dilemma, the Netflix documentary?
No.
You got to watch it.
Yeah.
Is it all about what I just said?
It's a lot about it. It's related. It's adjacent.
Okay. I'm going to watch it. I'll watch it tonight. My wild COVID plans. I'll watch that.
Yeah, exactly.
You might not sleep then.
Oh, really? Oh, no. What? Tomorrow morning, my Instagram's going to be shut off. Like, bye, guys.
Yeah, goodbye.
This is the last thing.
It's definitely makes you really want to get off. Get off social media.
You just realize it's none of us are like, not immune. We can't resist it. We're not protected from it. Like you're just, it's what we give it all willingly. And it's pretty terrifying. And that's as adults. By the way, that's also as adults who came of age pre-social media. Like my class was the second year that Facebook was available to college freshmen. And I think, even then I didn't want it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't really care about it till senior year. And then somehow I got pressured into getting an account. But I think a lot of your social validation and a lot of your self-acceptance is already sort of built by that point. And I still feel susceptible to it. And so for our kids, it's going to be very, very interesting. I also have a very sensitive Pisces as my first child. So she's going to be the one to go through it first, which is going to be very interesting. But that's sort of, pivoting a little bit to talk about, parenting and schooling in the age of COVID. I think it could be, there are some silver linings. And I think one of them could be that you know, at every age, you get a little extra time with your kids to like delay the friends being their only bouncing off point and their only like, you know, litmus test for whether they're accepted or not, or cool or not, or fun or not, or awkward or not, or any of these things. And I wonder if it will be actually beneficial long-term for their mental health in some ways to have that like more time with family, and less time just, you know, surrounded by friends. But there's obviously plenty of on the contrary of that too. Are you guys homeschooling right now? You said your kids are with you in Australia. What are you guys doing to stay on track?
Yeah. Well, he was doing we're doing remote school in California for a while but the time difference got a little insane. And so, yeah, and schools are actually open here because there's the government has done a really incredible job here.
Amazing.
Yeah, so they're gonna start going here. But we've done the past 6 months of, yeah, it's really, really lucky. But the past 6 months we've been doing, you know, the homeschool kind of Zoom school, which has been really, the teachers have just been incredible. And I'm so impressed with how flexible everyone's been and how much work they've done to get there. And it's just been really extraordinary, but it is so much for moms in particular. I think parents definitely in general, but I know moms are taking the brunt of it. I just saw a thing on social media actually today about Sarah Sophie Flicker. I don't know if you follow her at all. She's incredible, but she just posted this thing about how 800,000 women have dropped out of the workforce since the beginning of the pandemic in the United States, compared to like a much, much lower number of men. So I think the brunt of taking care of kids and trying to work and try and deal with all the anxiety of what the country is like right now has just been too much. I mean, not to mention, I know a lot of people taking care of their parents, taking care of, you know, having sick loved ones in the family. It's really like an insane time for everybody right now, but particularly moms. I think it's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting time to be a parent. And in some ways, you know, what Daphne was saying, when are we going to have this time to be with our children ever again?
Yes.
You know, we're together all the time. I mean, other than going to have a baby and like very, very few doctor's appointments that I decided to do when I was pregnant, because I had him 4 weeks ago. So like literally the big chunk of this pregnancy was during COVID. And so I just was afraid, and I would go like every 7 weeks to like, you know, I got a home Doppler, and I just, you know, I labored and pushed him out with a mask on.
Wow.
Things that you just don't think that you would do, or that you could do before. But then I try to always just be grateful, and I'm bringing him to work with me. You know what I mean? It's stuff that I wouldn't necessarily do. Fortunately, I work with you guys, and it's all great. You guys are very, you know, mom friendly, but it is really hard because you think, you know, today we're recording earlier and my daughter has a math question. So she's going to come in. I'm like, okay, I'm going to deal with this. And then we're going to go back to here, and then I'm going to feed him, and then we're going to go. And it's definitely has been a hard thing for mothers to try to balance it all.
I'm so impressed with both of you having so many kids, like, but it must be nice that they have playmates too, on the other hand. Do they play nicely together?
Well, most of the time. I mean, they beat each other too, but most of the time we do like a mix. We have a mixture of both. My kids are actually going through a really big Star Wars phase right now. So
amazing.
I know I'm going to tell them afterwards that that I got to talk to you, and they're going to be like, what?
Oh my gosh, look at that baby. Oh, he's beautiful. He's so cute. We got some face on to camera now.
Yeah, he's just at that point where he's like waking up a little bit. So it's just
He's
like the
very
past like
alert.
day or two, he's gotten more and more alert. So my idea of having him come to work with me was like, oh, he's gonna sleep like he did there in the first few weeks of his life. And now he's like, no, actually I want to eat and look around and maybe
No, but
cry.
he's good. Look at him. He's perfect.
I think a lot of babies are pretty chill as long as you give them absolutely everything that they want at all times. Right?
Definitely.
So it's
Most
like,
humans,
he's gonna
actually.
be as I'm like bouncing him the entire time. People always ask me, what's my arm workout? I'm like, it's this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love that you're Alara gets asked, we all get asked a lot, like, oh, do you have easy babies, good babies, whatever? And she never puts them down. Then they're always like fed on it. There is no such thing as like a bad baby when you do everything exactly the way they want at all times. Do you guys think you'd want to have more? Is that something on the radar? Are you happy at 2? Like, what's the?
I don't think so. I think, I think loving and taking care of our ones that we have are our priority, and
All consuming.
and we are so lucky. We feel so grateful. They're incredible kids, and it's we've got to be kind to our planet.
Are you planning on any more kids books after this one, or was this? I wrote one book. Daphne's written a lot of books, and that one book I'm still tired from, and it was like 5 years ago.
I would love to do one now that's more for my son's age, because this is really like perfect for my daughter who's 3.5, and it's dedicated to both of them, of course, and really is for both of them. But he's really into sort of like the graphic novels, now, and
Oh,
so I
fun.
was like, I've got to figure out something. So there's one that's really for him. What are your older kids reading?
Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
Obsessed with Harry Potter. Although they're really into Snoopy as well right now. Charlie Brown and Snoopy.
Cute.
And just like, you want to rewrite the gender roles, I would love for, all these things that we remember as warm and fuzzy when we're younger. And then you listen to them again, and you're like, oh no, this is not things that we say anymore. Like, I'll slug you, you blockhead, is what my kids say all the time. And I'm like,
That's
it's
very
kind of,
like,
you don't
cute,
say
though,
that.
'cause it's
no,
like, period.
it's right. It's kind of funny because it's so ridiculous. And they'll say it and they're so angry. I'm going to slug you, you blockhead. And I'm like, all right, well, okay.
And that's a prime example of a show that's like, there's 2 girls, or the books and the show, right? I think
I think there's 3. So there's Lucy,
there's 3.
Sally, and then Violet.
Violet.
And Peppermint Patty.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Peppermint Patty.
That's more.
I'm like,
That's good.
as I drive around and I listen to them watching it in my car. That's what I'm like,
That's cute though. All kids should be armed with like phrases from the 50s. Should be like,
I know.
You blockhead
So
is
effective.
adorable.
There's no confusion. It's really getting to the point. Yeah. You know, what's funny. We started reading The Secret Garden recently, and like Heidi and all those old classics. And it's real. I'll tell you what's really weird to me. It's not the gender roles so much specifically. Oh, because in both of those, there's a girl who's the lead character, but it's the like heaviness of weight of a life at 8. Like, both these girls have, their parents are dead, and they're, mean grandmothers or mean whoever's and mean governesses, like just like children having to contend with much darker and more fraught realities than you'd ever hope and wish on any child. So it's been this kind of interesting dance of having to like try to navigate some of these parts and make it a little bit softer of a landing. And also at the same time realizing that, like, I think there's value in some of the like classic literature that it's very universal, and they have to have context to put it into, but it's been fun to get to read those, and she's loved them. She loves them. It's also because it's like one of the only moments in the day that I get to be with her alone, and she obviously really craves that too.
Well, the fun thing to do as well is have them start reading pages to you. So like Carmen, my daughter, she will read me a couple pages, and then I'll read to her the rest before we go to bed.
That's really good.
But getting them reading is when you see kids love books, and I think especially now, it's really, really important for them to still have that kind of medium. because it's just so easy for them to watch something or look or want to FaceTime. And my whole family lives in Spain. And so, if they want to connect with their grandparents, especially now during COVID, they have to be on a device. And so whenever they have something where they're actually like flipping the pages or doing art, and it's much more of that, old fashioned hand work. It's very heartwarming. How is it going back to work with COVID? I know, my husband is an actor, and it's been interesting watching all the maneuvering and it's a very different way to go back on the set. And I assume it's maybe a little bit more relaxed in where you guys are.
Yeah, they're still taking all the precautions. I mean, I actually haven't started my on-set work yet. I'm just in prep right now. But we're going to be tested 3 times a week, and everyone has to wear masks. And, I think there's some separation between like teams so that people stay in kind of groups. So God forbid anyone is positive, like only that group has to quarantine.
Right.
So they're still taking all the precautions, but it's obviously a lot more relaxed here because there's been I think there were 12 cases in the country or something last week. And
that's crazy.
Amazing.
Super different.
It just shows you how, that early response made such a difference.
Yeah. And I mean, they're just super strict. Like anyone coming into, it's limited who's coming into the country. Anyone who comes in has to do a 2-week government, military style, quarantine. You're in a hotel, you're not allowed out of the room. There's they test you, and then you can't leave until you have 2 negative tests over the course of 2 weeks. And there's no movement between states at all. Wow. So it's really it's really strict that way. But then
it gives you so much more freedom.
Yeah, everyone's free in the country. You can go anywhere. Schools are open, restaurants are open.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll stay on after you're done?
I know, right? I want to move there.
I mean, we're very grateful to be here, and we're very hopeful that the U.S. is able to figure out, because obviously so many people are really struggling, and it's really it's really serious. So hopefully
we're gonna figure it out.
We will. We have to.
Yeah.
We have to.
We do. Oh wait, so I'd love to chat with you if you're game about something some of my favorite conversations on the show end up being about about motherhood tangentially, but oftentimes about the what forms the woman who becomes the mother and how she takes care of herself too. And I feel like you've throughout your career, I feel like it's been really important to you to select your roles and to be very vocal about the things that you want to promote and play. And obviously it's acting, but it's also, important to you to make an active choice in that. And I'm so curious because, I've worked in media and TV for a long time. And I do think that it's, sometimes it feels like an industry that's very hurry up and wait. And it also feels like you've got to be so grateful every time an opportunity comes around. And I don't find that it's an industry that really fosters a lot of confidence of I'll wait for the next thing. You know what I mean? So I'm so curious how you developed that backbone and how you felt were there times I would just, where did that come from and how did you feel confident to do it? Especially as a young, before you were established and roles written for you, when you were still going and trying to get them, how did that sort of shape up?
Well, thanks for saying that. I don't know. I mean, I feel lucky to have been able to work for a long time. But also that long time kind of gives you a sense of the way things go, that sometimes it's happening and sometimes it's not happening, and you kind of just have to be patient and trust in it. Although I mean, I definitely have moments where I'm I don't know what my good thing that I want to be part of is. So it's lucky to get to play lots of different things. I always think when we're talking about, feminism and I always think that like the most different possibilities of what a woman can be is the best for women. So I think like we should be able to see like people who are not kind and people who are not strong and people who are not, not courageous, and alongside the, brave and strong and smart and accomplished women, because like just the RBG quote about, putting women on a pedestal is just a different kind of cage is so true. Like you can't just like making all women like kick-ass superheroes doesn't make a feminist reality. Like we want to be all different possibilities of humans. So it's great to get to play characters that are, like all different kinds of people, not just heroes,
Well,
alongside some heroes.
You're gonna play once in a while. It's not so bad.
Yeah,
you're gonna play Thor, a female
Yes.
Thor. That's really exciting.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
amazing. That's so fun.
It's
Are
really
you
fun.
working out with his trainer? That guy was out of control. He's Australian, isn't he, around there somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely getting Chris's like recommendations for how to get like pumped up. I don't know if like a 5'3" Jewish woman who's like on the verge of 40 is going to be able to like
if anyone can do it, you can do it.
Thank you. It'll be pretty funny.
Years ago, I interviewed Hugh Jackman for Wolverine, and he like brought me through his like crazy. He'd have to like wake up at like 2:00 in the morning and eat like a steak. No, but it would be like just steak all the time.
And like 20 chicken breasts and
which obviously
like 80 eggs.
It would not do that. But yeah, no.
I know. I'm gonna be just like jamming tofu at like 2 in the morning.
So many kidney beans.
You became vegetarian as a kid?
Yes.
That's amazing. I did at 5 as well.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it was one of those, when I understood that meat was an animal, I was like, okay, I'm out. I don't do this.
Exactly.
See, I was raised vegetarian, and then I got to college and my vegetarian options were so paltry. I was like, no. I need a hamburger. I need this. I need my chicken breast back.
Well, that's always what I tell my husband is like, I always feel like kids need something to rebel against. Like you can't bring them up like too like lefty hippie, like
true.
then they're gonna reject it. And like, so I'm like, let's give them some like rules and structure just so they can be like, screw that later.
I like that. That's like proactive parenting right there. Here's the things I'll let you rebel against. I'm just going to seed them here.
Exactly. I was like, I don't mind if school is like kind of strict and, I think, a little too much. If I instill too much of my like own hippiness, they'll end up like super, super conservative.
Well, my kids still think that the S word means stupid.
Oh,
and they came up with that on their own.
What's the other S word? What are we talking about?
What other S word?
What are you talking about?
What other S word? No, they told me, they're like, she said the S word to me. And I'm like, and what is that? I'm like, feeling like this. And they're like, stupid. And I was like, oh, that's bad. It's really, really, really bad. We never say that word.
My kids know some other words.
We ask on Mom Brain. We ask about a favorite things. I don't know if they planned they gave you if they prepped you for that, and then we also ask you to introduce yourself, and this will go at the beginning of the episode. So so the favorite thing, it could be whatever. It could be your favorite book, your favorite inspiration. It could be your shirt that you're wearing. It could be your favorite moisturizer. It could be literally anything.
Okay. What? I recently got donut molds, and it's become like my favorite thing.
Like to make donuts?
Yes, to make donuts at home. It's like very important. It's just a very
good.
Well, all the things you learn in
top of my head. I know. It was like necessary for quarantine. They're very light too. So I travel with them. They're like silicone molds.
Wait, what are you making in
donuts?
You're actually making
donuts. It's like basically just like a normal like cake batter, and then you put it in the mold, and it comes out a donut. It's incredible.
Imagine that.
Imagine all the possibilities.
But the fact that you travel with it is very telling. You clearly love and miss a donut. I understand.
Oh yeah. It's just like very well. My 3-year-old, there's like a coffee shop near our house, and my husband every morning gets coffee there, and they have this special donut there, and it's like the only thing she will eat for breakfast now. It's like a green matcha donut, and so when we knew we were going away, I was like, I need to learn how to make this. And so I found this like amazing Instagram like chef taught me how to make them. Her name's Yuki. And so now I can make them for her, which is like, it was like a big crisis. I was like, I will not be able to get her to eat breakfast once we're away from our like
she's trained you well. She's like, not only do I get donuts for breakfast, but I get matcha, which has caffeine in it. So
exactly. Yes. I'm a mom like you. I like
just keep them happy.
For my children.
Whatever you want, just keep them
happy. I'm like, you need my breast, you need a donut, whatever. Take it.
Just don't cry. Please don't cry.
Exactly. As long as you don't cry.
Is there any particular brand that we can link to? Because we link to them.
I don't know. It was like the first one on Amazon. It was
siliconedonuts.com.
Donut.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but they're like neon colors. If you
Excellent.
That was a big. Yeah. Okay.
Are you a big cook?
I like to cook. My husband is kind of actually more the cook in our house. He's like really, really very like he's like he has like skills. I'm more like throw it together. This is yum, and then I do like the basic things, and he's like he'll do like the fancy dinner for 20 kind of cooking.
Oh, that's
what a skill. That's amazing.
That's a good one.
French people all know how to cook. It's kind of like
people.
It's like one of those stereotypes that's true. They like all are amazing cooks.
It's also like the pressure is not on, which I think is really the key to all good things in life is just enjoy it. Don't like make it so crazy and annoying.
I know he's like never stressed while cooking. I'm always like, I'm spilling things and everything's everywhere. And he's just like puts on the music and it's like 5 minutes and there's like a dinner for 20 people.
What's the first meal he made to woo you? What was like the meal that sealed the deal for you?
Well, he made many like wonderful meals for me, but one time our friends have like a gathering at their house where like everyone comes for the holidays, and he made a New Year's Eve dinner for like 20 of my friends the first time he was meeting them. That was like an 8-course dinner of like, he did these like eggs in the shell that were like with cream and caviar on top, like for 20 people by himself. And all my friends were like, you're marrying this guy, right? I was like,
keep him.
That guy. I was like, yeah. Yes. Which I didn't eat, of course. It's not I'm vegan, so I was not eating it, but all my friends were impressed, which is like the most important.
And where can we find your book?
Wherever books are sold.